Sydney Sweeney, Super Troopers 3, along with all your other pop culture news of the night, not day. We had a lot going on today, so we did an interview in the afternoon for your show, actually.
Yes.
So that's why I'm going on tonight at night. We had a conflicting schedule. But why don't we get right into Sydney Sweeney? That's my producer off camera, Nat. She's going to be reading the articles and giving her opinions.
Yes. I almost started by saying, hi, I'm Nat.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tuesday and Thursday, I do this pop culture show. So she's used to every time we go on at night, she's actually on the show.
Yes. So from the Hollywood Reporter, Sydney Sweeney says mainly girls criticized her bathwater-infused soap. The actress collaborated with Dr. Sasquatch on the limited edition soap that sold out in seconds.
Yeah, I thought that was more of a thing just to get publicity. It worked well for her to get publicity. Yeah, was it kind of cringe? Yes, but was it good marketing? Also, yes. She has made a string of good marketing decisions for herself, for her career. There are role choices as well. She's getting offered premium roles in Hollywood, and she's made a good transition into commercials. Bud Light has actually been trying to get her to sign on to a Bud Light commercial after the huge scandal they had. Okay, let's go into what she said about the soap, though.
While Sydney Sweeney has yet to address her controversial American Eagle jeans ad, she is commenting on another headline-making ad from earlier this year. The Emmy-nominated actress recently sat down with the Wall Street Journal, where she recalled the social media buzz around her bathwater-infused limited edition soap collab with the men's personal hygiene company Dr. Squatch, I can't say it, which sold out in seconds. Though Sweeney doesn't lend too much of her attention to online chatter, she does think it's important to have a finger on the pulse of what people are saying because everything is a conversation with the audience.
Yeah, and I also think the way she did the soap, where it was a limited edition, it was a quick run, it got a good media hit, and she doesn't have to keep doing it and try to shove it down people's throats, kind of like Meghan Markle with her jams and everything else. It's this company that's constantly being pushed, and when it doesn't work, it's hard to walk away. This bath soap was most likely not going to work, but it did work in getting headlines.
And then here's where she actually tells the truth that most of us have been saying online for a while now about all the controversy surrounding her. And that's why the Euphoria star said she noted it was mainly the girls making comments about her bathwater soap collaboration, which I thought was really interesting. She added, they all loved the idea of Jacob Elordi's bathwater, referencing the viral risque scene in Elordi's 2023 movie Saltburn. So it's interesting that now she's actually admitting, the truth.
Oh, yeah. And oh God, what do you call it when girls are intentionally trying to be ugly?
Jealous?
No, there's a name for it. Like all these...
Anti-man or...
I can't remember, but Sydney Sweeney's the opposite of that. She's going more back into traditional conservative beauty, and she's getting a lot of attention for it. So she is really the cultural shift to a different era, the new era, which is kind of reminiscent of an older era in Hollywood, which is nice. Okay, why don't we go into...
I mean, good for her for actually saying what everybody's been thinking, that it's jealous girls who are criticizing her.
Oh, yeah.
And it's obvious. And the fact that we haven't been, quote unquote, haven't been able to say it, and that it's obvious where the hate is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at all the videos of the women mostly criticizing her that call themselves feminists. And I mean, I think men as well are realizing more and more that it's just this whole woke feminist conversation is just the same high school drama, but in real life.
I mean, who wants to buy jeans when a 300-pounder's on a commercial shoving themselves into these things? Nobody wants that. You want aspirational beauty that you can kind of look up to and hopefully one day maybe be like. If you work out, if you eat healthy, if you do things like that, aspirational beauty, I think, sells better than, what would you say?
Insecurities?
No, I would say... Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Why don't we go into Super Troopers 3? And I loved what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I don't even think Sydney Sweeney is like the hottest, most attractive woman on earth, but she's just acting like a normal human female.
Well, when you compare her to modern day women, she is extremely hot just because the standard has been so lowered. Like the women nowadays are intentionally trying to not get the male gaze. They're trying to make themselves not look good. We actually have an article for our political show tomorrow that kind of talks about the left coming full circle and now going religious, starting to embrace Islam and put on burqas so they don't attract the male gaze. And these were former feminist with green, blue, and purple hair. So they're just taking the next step. And they say politics is kind of like a horseshoe. Eventually you get around to the other side. And that kind of seems like what's happening to the left now.
And Sweeney is just the stereotypical, girl next door. And we did lose that for the longest time. So.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it's good to see it come back.
Well, and it's nice that she's not overly beautiful. She's a good-looking girl, like you said, girl next door. I think a lot of girls can actually achieve that level of beauty or that beauty standard.
And reminding people that most people, normal people without, I'm sure she's done some surgery or some, touch-ups, but most people without that look not like we see on Instagram every day.
Yeah, and I hope the rumors aren't true because there was rumors of Megan Fox's old boyfriend. What's his name?
I forget.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh.
Potentially dating her.
That one?
Yeah, that would be crazy if it was.
Yeah.
So, but that was just a rumor I seen on X. Nothing confirmed yet. Okay, let's go into Super Troopers 3 here. And I love Super Troopers 1. It was absolutely amazing. I don't know because we're coming out of this era of woke Hollywood where a lot of these scripts were written probably a year or two ago. Super Troopers, if it pushes the boundaries and doesn't give a shit about what people are going to think or being canceled, this could be a great movie. Culturally, the culture is ready for it now. We've kind of moved on from canceling movies and comedians over jokes. Let's read about this.
From Variety, Super Troopers 3 starts filming as Brian Cox, Chase Crawford, and more join Broken Lizard cast. Marissa Coughlan, Nat Faxon, and Andrew Dismukes also joined the film from director Jay Chandrasekhar. I don't know how to say that last name.
Okay, let's go down in the article and just read a little bit. I wonder how long it's been in production for.
Mother of God, the Broken Lizard comedy team, Jay Chandrasekhar, Kevin Heffernan, Steve Lemmy, Paul Soder, and Eric Stoll. Why do they all have weird last names?
Okay, just skip the names and go into what the article is saying.
Are re-teaming with Searchlight Pictures for a third installment of the cult classic Super Troopers franchise. Broken Lizard has penned the script for Super Troopers 3, which this person is set to direct again with Richard Perello producing. Him and the rest of the group's members will reprise their roles along with Brian Cox from...
Okay, let's move down in the article a little bit to the end.
To where?
Yeah, right there is good. Super Troopers was released.
Super Troopers was released by Fox Searchlight in 2001 after being acquired at the Sundance Film Festival. Following its debut, the film then went on to win the Audience Award at the South by Southwest Film Festival. A sequel was later released in 2018. Both were directed by...
Okay, that's pretty good. And we've had quite a bit of time between the Super Troopers franchise, so this is what I keep saying about Marvel and Star Wars. You need to give time to make people want this. And it is a bit of a cult classic film. Again, if it does push the boundaries and doesn't have woke messaging in it, I think it will be funny. If they poke fun at woke, it will be even better. Okay, let's go into K-pop Demon Hunters. And I actually watched the preview for this when I was gathering the stories for today's episode. And it surprisingly looked good.
From The Hollywood Reporter, K-pop Demon Hunter sing-along books over 1,700 cinemas, 1,000 shows sell out. Netflix is hosting the special two-day event in North America over the August 22nd to 24th weekend. The sing-along screenings will also play in theaters in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand.
Yeah, so this is smart putting a sing along with the movie. But that being said, Netflix has a problem with theatrical releases. They really don't do them. And we're going to get into a story later that, again, talks about the lack of theatrical releases for Netflix. So they have a tough time recruiting talent. Even for this movie, they're not getting a full mainstream release. This movie, as far as when I watched the trailer, this looks perfect for Netflix. It looks really good even for theaters.
Well, I don't think it's a movie. I think it's a series, and they're bringing on, they're doing special screenings at cinemas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't, because I had never heard about it, but I watched it, and it looked like it's a movie trailer. So why don't we read a little bit about it? Because I had never heard about it, so when I went and watched the trailer, I just put K-pop Demon Hunter movie trailer, and it came up.
Well, because you put movie trailer, but I don't remember if it was on WDW Pro or if it was one of our subscribers that said that it was surprisingly good.
Yeah, it looked good, especially for this generation. It just kind of had a little bit of everything. The animation was surprisingly good, especially in an age where animation is really lacking right now. And it was a little bit different. It gave a little bit of homage to anime as well, but it wasn't too heavy one way. It was a good mix of just about everything.
So Netflix is delivering the late summer box office surprise and a needed gift. The streamer and theater owners, and particularly the major chains, have been at loggerheads for years over exclusive theatrical windows. Netflix has always made it clear that its subscribers are its first priority, resulting in its titles often being boycotted by the bigger circuits when they do hit theaters. But in this case, the rules are being tossed aside as cinema operators rush to be part of K-pop Demon Hunters phenomenon, which is fast on its way to becoming the most viewed movie. Oh yeah, movie of all the time on the streamer.
Yeah, so it's a movie.
So it is a movie. Yeah.
Okay, that being said, yeah, I think Netflix needs to look for distribution deals, and they're kind of being boxed out by Amazon and other big distributors that are getting exclusive distribution deals. They need it because they need to start trying to hit up cinemas at least once a month. So that would be 12 films a year. Netflix should try to get in extremely wide release in theaters. There is a kind of backlash in the distribution industry to Netflix movies, I believe. Okay, let's go into the next story. We got quite a few stories, so I'm going to blow right through them today.
From Deadline, WWE to offer live events on ESPN's streaming service earlier than expected, starting with inaugural WrestlePalooza in September.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is going to work out so great. This is going to be on the ESPN streaming. I believe it's going to be a paid site. There's an article later as well. That being said, I don't know if how many people are you going to really draw in with WWE, especially when it seemed like you prioritize WWE over the UFC. The UFC is real fighting. This is fake performative fighting. They recently lost the UFC contract. I think that is going to severely hurt them. Also, when the UFC was on ESPN, they completely fumbled the bag and the property with that. They should have ate the cost like CBS is eating the cost now and going to put it absolutely free on TV. CBS paid more to get rid of pay-per-view, and that's going to bring massive people over to the network. The WWE here, it's a step down from the UFC, and then they're expecting people to start paying for these WWE events.
And it is interesting, they're like rushing to put it on streaming right after the deal with Paramount and the UFC came out.
And it's interesting because the people that own the UFC, I think it's WMG, also own WWE, so they're owned by the same company.
Isn't it TKO Holdings?
No, that's the promoter.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different. It's WMG.
Okay.
Oh God, now I lost my train of thought. Okay, let's read a little bit about it.
Sorry. WWE is no longer waiting until next year to bring premium live events to ESPN's new direct-to-consumer streaming service and will instead kick off the recently announced partnership next month. The wrestling promotion announced Wednesday that the first live event offered on ESPN platforms will be the inaugural WrestlePalooza on September 20th. The event, which will take place, blah, blah, blah. That means as of September 20, ESPN will become the exclusive domestic home for all of WWE's premium live events.
Yeah, and when it says premium live events, I'm wondering if it's paid or not paid, because when the UFC was on ESPN, they had a special pay-per-view that you had to buy the events. So the fact that if this isn't pay-per-view and it's free to view on ESPN and you just pay the subscription fee, that will be a little bit better. But the way Paramount is doing the UFC with CBS, and yes, you pay for Paramount for the 30 not so good UFC events, and then the big premium events are on Paramount Plus, but they simulcast on CBS. They are making the right moves with that. UFC is about to become one of the biggest sports in the world. I think it has a chance to surpass soccer over the next decade, or at least compete with it. The WWE, I don't know. I think eventually they're going to use this as an in-between. They've gone from Netflix now to ESPN, and I think eventually they'll want to be on Paramount CBS as well.
Because I was trying to look at the article, but it doesn't say if it's paid or not.
Okay, well, let's go into Julio Cesar Chavez, and we actually live in Mexico, so that's kind of why I picked up this story.
From Gulf News, Mexican boxer Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. deported from the U.S., say the authorities. Son of legendary boxer Julio Cesar Chavez faces substance trafficking-related charges.
Yeah, and there was a lot of rumors of him having major connections with the cartel when he was deported from the United States. The Mexican authorities picked him up at the border, I believe. We'll read a little bit about it. That being said, he was paid a few $1 million to fight Jake Paul recently, and that's when they picked him up in the United States. I hope he put that money in a bank account and he didn't take it in cash trying to avoid taxes or something, because if he did, when they picked him up, they probably would have took that money. I have no idea what he had on him when they did pick him up. Let's read a little bit about this, though.
Former champion boxer Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been detained in Mexico after deportation by the United States to face substance trafficking-related charges, Mexican authorities said Tuesday. Chavez, the son of legendary boxer Julio Cesar Chavez, was handed over at midday on Monday and transferred to a prison in Mexico's northwest Sonora state, according to information on the country's National Detention Registry. He was deported, President Claudia Sheinbaum told reporters, adding that there was an arrest warrant for him in Mexico.
Yeah, and there's major cooperation going on between the U.S. and Mexican governments right now because the pressure on this tariff deal. Mexico is trying to cooperate as much as possible. They may give a few public statements that kind of sound tough, but behind the scenes, it's been confirmed by almost everybody in the Trump administration that works with Mexican politicians. They are cooperating in every way, shape, or form, kind of the opposite of what Canada is doing. That being said, Julio Cesar Chavez, this gentleman's father, has good connections with the government, so I don't expect his son to do that much time.
Yes, I mean, there are a lot of, I showed them a long time ago during one of my Spanish streams, there are a lot of pictures of President Claudia Sheinbaum and former President AMLO very close and hugging the father, so.
Yeah, but they did have to pick him up, and they do have to put him to court, even if they do get him a lighter sentence. And if he does do a heavier sentence, I don't think he's going to have a tough time in the prison because he is well connected. So that being said, they're doing this because of the timing of this tariff deal right now.
But at the same time,
because they're also handing over other cartel members at the border to U.S. officials to face sentencing or face trial in the United States when these are Mexican citizens, which seems kind of odd.
and that was what I was going to say. It's interesting that in this case in particular, they're asking and now sending him and detaining him in Mexico, but all the other ones that the U.S. has detained have, some of them at least, started to think about deals where they're going to start talking and giving information about current and former governments, I suppose, as well.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into summer box office. Is that the next article?
Yes.
Okay.
From The Hollywood Reporter, the summer box office is quickly turning south and not towards Mexico. Early hopes that grosses could top $4 billion this season have fizzled as insiders bemoan a lack of tentpole.
Yeah, and I'm not bemoaning these summer movies. There's been a couple hits. There's been some good horror movies, a good action movie here, something good there. There's still a lot of woke garbage from The Hangover in Hollywood, but this is really the transition year to go back to normalcy. It's not going to happen all at once, but you can see it happening with most of these major releases. So I'm happy to see it happening. I understand it's not going to happen all at once, but the fact that it is happening, I would expect a big year next year, and especially the year after that, because right now what you're seeing come out in theaters was really written during the very progressive woke era where people were scared to get canceled, a lot of DEI stuff shoved in there. After this, though, it's going to be interesting because AI is really on the come up right now. So are they going to do an appropriate transition or not? I would expect a big year next year if they were making traditional movies. It's going to be interesting to see if the general public does accept AI in the way it's going to be presented to them.
And also, interestingly, a lot of the movies, specifically mostly Disney, when they did realize that the culture was shifting and that it wasn't such a good idea to keep a lot of the core ideology that was baked within these movies, they just went in and cut and hacked them all up. So the stories end up being completely both distorted and disjointed with like for example, with Elio from Pixar, that was supposed to be about a boy that's, queer or whatever they called it. But then they had to go in and chop all that up. So the storyline ended up making no sense at all.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that they're chopping up these movies to make bad movies because it shows they're trying to shift back to the middle, which I actually like. When they start making these movies from scratch without all the messaging kind of added in, and they're not going to have to chop these movies up, I think they're going to be able to make pretty good movies again, or at least that's what I'm hoping. Okay, let's read a little bit about it and see what they said.
Kryptonite is messing with the summer box office. Heading into the start of the season, hopes were running high that Hollywood would make a roaring comeback and be able to be best or at least match the $4 billion plus earned in 2023 at the domestic box office when the combination of Barbie and Oppenheimer turned into a cultural phenomenon. The 2025 May-August calendar was certainly promising on paper in terms of marquee tentpoles led by James Gunn's Superman reboot, Jurassic World Rebirth, and the Fantastic Four First Steps. Only the dinos overperformed.
Yeah, and the budgets are much too high. The movies that are doing best are movies like Sinners. Even Sinners had a higher budget than it needed. It was a $90 million budget, but it maintained week after week because it was basically a really, really good movie, and word of mouth spread on that thing. I did watch the making of Sinners, and the way they filmed that, they used a lot of specialty camera rigs. They could have gone and just made it with normal cameras, and the budget probably would have been 40 or 50 million, which would have been extremely reasonable, and the payback would have been huge with a much lower risk. I think that's going to be the future of Hollywood, and even superhero movies, making movies that are 200 or 250 million plus a $200 million marketing budget. It's a big, big risk, and I just think you can make these movies. They made Godzilla +1 on a shoestring budget, and it was really good, and it did have a lot of special effects in it. Okay, let's go into what's next for us. Was that Justin Baldoni, I think?
From Deadline, Justin Baldoni accuses tone-deaf Blake Lively of trying to constitutionally repress lawyer Brian Friedman, spars with Isabella Ferrer over subpoena.
Yeah, and there's a lot still going on with this. We had reported that the lawsuit was over. It's not over. Part of it was over. So as it goes on, they're still in the discovery process, trying to get testimony, things like that. It's a big battle. It's going to be a long time till this thing is over. Let's read a little bit about it and see what is going on right now, though.
It doesn't seem much like the languid dog days of summer for Justin Baldoni when it comes to the It Ends With Us director's sprawling legal fracas with Blake Lively over her claims of SA on the Sony release flick and the alleged online smear campaign that followed last year, with the brouhaha of earlier this month over Lively's now very much sealed deposition being partially leaked and placed on the court docket finally dying down, and Baldoni's Wayfarer Studios battle with various insurance companies over funds to pay legal fees still very much heating up. The former Jane the Virgin actor this week has come out swinging for his main lawyer, and accusations of harassment of a different sort from another IEWU actress. It Ends With Us.
Yeah, and it's kind of going to be interesting what does happen here. I mean, Ryan Reynolds was getting a really bad rub, and so did Blake Lively off this thing. Even if they're not forced to pay any money from this, just the rub on the careers isn't good, especially Blake Lively. But this thing blew up to such an extreme, it did start to have a negative impact on Ryan Reynolds. If this thing goes to court again and it starts to kind of trudge up everything that happened the first time, again, it's not going to look good on Ryan. I would say just come to a settlement here, or just try to let this thing die out, because about the negative press they're going to get from this thing is going to do none of these actors, directors, or creatives any good. If they can just quietly sign a non-disclosure agreement and nobody admits fault, I think everybody is going to walk away best. Even Baldoni hasn't won this case yet, but a lot of the general public are on his side, even if they don't agree with his politics. That being said, he is now a name because of this trial. He was never a really big name for the movies he made. He's becoming a big name because of this trial. So I think his future is looking bright, and it did benefit him overall.
And the lawyer said, the Wayfarer lawyer said, Ms. Lively's post-litigation conduct has done nothing to endear her to the public, the press, or content creators. He proclaims in an August 18th opposition filing to Lively's motion for sanctions against sharp and sometimes silver-tongued Baldoni top lawyer Brian Friedman. A recent barrage of subpoenas has angered and alienated those already critical of Ms. Lively, forcing a number of them to seek this court's intervention.
Yeah, and it really hurt her friendship with Taylor Swift in the public eye. At least Taylor Swift is dramatically distancing herself from her. She does no longer want to be one of her dragons, I guess. Okay, let's go into TikTok. TikTok creators.
1 second. From Variety, TikTok creators court film fans, but can they drive audiences back into cinemas? At Edinburgh International Film Festival, TikTok creators argued authenticity and passion can move audiences off their phones and into theaters, but whether that promise scales remains uncertain.
Okay, and let's read a little bit about this. And this is a film festival with TikTok creators. I think this is a good idea. This can definitely work. I'm really into cameras, camera gear, stuff like that. Before I started getting into YouTube, I watched a lot of people talk about cameras, camera gears, cinematography, and the level of talent within the YouTube sphere in the camera industry, I would say, or in the creative, what would you call it? Independent film industry is huge. A lot of these people have already made the transition into commercial work being short commercials, and the transition was flawless. So I would definitely think they could move into larger films.
TikTok's reach into theatrical film marketing was part of the closing industry panel at this year's Edinburgh International Film Festival. At the Woman with a Movie account, TikTok UK's public figures led Beatrice Mustosi opened, "These guys have a track record of democratizing fandom and turning that into a career." The panel consisted of film content creators Meg Hughes, Indigo Stafford, and Jamilo Mohammed. I see people
because they make a connection with their audience first and they bring a huge fan base with them. If they have the talent on top of that, and a lot of that talent was developed in an alternative sphere like YouTube. A lot of these people are self-taught. If they're not self-taught, they do pick up a lot of hands-on things. They can work with smaller crews, smaller budgets, and get more out of it.
But I think they're talking about people that review films and then drive people to go see them. So TikTok creators that mostly review films.
Okay.
And how that can be implemented into the marketing of a film. And it has come out that a lot of TikTok creators specifically, but also YouTube creators, have been paid off by film studios and production companies to promote movies, but do it undercover. And we've also seen this weird trailer. I don't watch TikTok, but I saw someone speaking about this trend on TikTok where movie studios will release almost like most of the plot on a TikTok video.
Yep.
And then that has driven people to go watch it. But mostly a lot of people are disappointed that they essentially just put it all out on TikTok so they don't actually have to go watch the movie.
Yeah. Kind of, I guess I was wrong about the article, but what I was saying, I think the market of where the new talent is for movie directors, producers is YouTube, is TikTok, is the independent creative sphere, especially with AI coming. And this is just going to help give them even more weapons to get into the industry at a higher level.
And this, do you want me to read what one of the creators said?
Yeah, you can read a little bit.
One of the creators said, "I see people going to the cinema because of recommendations I've given." Irish creator and inspiring director Meg Hughes said after the event, "I don't just tell people they should see it in cinemas. I explain why that film deserves to be seen there." For Hughes, TikTok is not just a stepping stone to filmmaking, but a potential tool for preservation. "If you can get that passion, if you want to utilize creators like myself who want to keep this industry thriving and booming and growing and glowing, and seeing cinemas staying open," she said.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Let's go into the Duffer Brothers. And we reviewed this article the other day. This is actually an update on it because the deal was closed.
From Deadline, Duffer Brothers closed 4-year film, TV, and streaming mega deal with Paramount's set Netflix exit.
Yeah, and Netflix is kind of discovering this talent, and it's getting stolen by these bigger studios because these studios have theatrical releases. The Duffer Brothers specifically signed with Paramount because of the lack of theatrical releases from Netflix. They want to go big or they want to go home, and that's the thing Paramount was able to offer. So good on Paramount. Paramount is making all the right moves in every aspect, whether it's sports, whether it's mainstream movies, or whether it's streaming and streaming series.
And for the longest time, Paramount was seen as a smaller streaming service where you could basically just watch Yellowstone if you really wanted to watch that. That's why you would have a subscription. But now it looks like they're ramping up and realizing that where the potential is, instead of just them deciding ideologically what they want their audience to see.
Yeah, they're really leaning out the company, making a lot of layoffs in HR and a lot of other departments that are kind of not needed, and keeping the biggest creatives and the people that actually know how to do their job best. And they're outsourcing a lot of their production to other companies. What do I mean by that? They used to own, I believe it was Strikeforce and Bellator MMA, but they were involved in the production a lot. This time they paid a lot more, and they're passing all the production off to the UFC, so the people that do work for them can focus on the things they want them to focus for, and they know they're going to get a high quality product when it comes to the UFC's production value. Okay, we actually don't need to read too much about this. I kind of just wanted the headline to update the audience on that story. And why did they leave Netflix? And it was because they want theatrical releases and access to theatrical releases. Okay, let's keep going down here.
Down the story?
No, to the next story.
Oh, okay. From Variety, new Archie Comics movie in the works, Spider-Verse duo Phil Lord and Chris Miller producing.
Okay, and oh God, what was that series that we worked on that was
Yes, we both worked in Vancouver. They filmed all of Riverdale, and let me just tell you, not just from me personally, but everybody that worked on those sets said it was the worst set to work in, and it was a horrible experience. Not for myself that much, but just in general, even the vibe of working there, it was not good.
Well, I had never worked on Riverdale until near the end. You were constantly working on Riverdale.
I got Riverdale a lot.
I didn't work on Riverdale until just before we left Vancouver. And the fact was, I had heard all the stories from not only the actors, but the people behind the scenes. The producers and everybody else on that show were just brutal with people. So they had a bad reputation, Riverdale did, within Vancouver for filming.
And nobody was happy, not the actors, not the even location manager, makeup artists. Everybody was angry there.
And that's a rare thing, because most people are very happy to work on most sets. I can't even remember a set that people didn't like working on other than Riverdale. Other than when I first started in film, I was working on non-union films, and basically the vibe of Riverdale was the same vibe you got with non-union work.
Supergirl people didn't like working on. I do remember that.
Oh, I don't know.
A lot of the ex-WB properties are managed and work differently than other ones we got to work on.
Yeah. I worked on Supergirl, but people seem to not mind it at all. I know Riverdale was on another level.
Yes, Riverdale was on another level.
And God, how did I forget that? Even the actors were crazy. I used to work at a bar at night, and it was across from the main hotel that all the actors would kind of stay in. It was called the Sutton Place Hotel. So everybody would kind of come over to our bar, because it was more of a working man's bar. It wasn't like a hotel bar. So actors like to go in there. The Riverdale people, I was constantly kicking out. The one girl from Riverdale brought a bunch of guys in and tried to get those guys to fight these other guys because she wanted to feel important, and it was just nuts.
Which girl?
Let's just keep going.
Okay. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the filmmaking duo behind Spider-Verse, the Lego Movie, and 21 Jump Street, are bringing Archie Comics to the big screen.
Why is she in a wheelchair there?
Don't know. They'll produce a new live-action film with Aditya sued president of their production company, Lord Miller, through their first-look deal with Universal Pictures. Comic book writer Tom King is penning the screenplay, though plot details haven't been confirmed. They probably won't bring back, the same cast as they did
but
before.
I will say Riverdale, as much as I have stories about the set and the actors and everybody working on it didn't like working on it, it was actually a very popular series, so I would expect the movie to actually do good. It can bring in new fans, a new audience. It will bring in the people from Riverdale, which is a built-in fan base, and then it will also bring in people from their original Archie comics. So it has 3 fan bases to kind of draw on. I would expect it to do fairly well, as long as they can keep a lot of the messaging out of that movie.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think they'll. But I'm trying to see if they'll bring back the actors from the series. I don't think so. But I used to watch a long time ago Riverdale.
You did? I never watched. I worked on it
when I was in college, like a long time ago.
I never watched it.
But it went in a weird direction. Like starting on the second season, there was a lot of paranormal, weird things that went on. It was just not good. But at the same time, the CW did that with a lot, and they tried a lot of crossovers, and for a while I think people liked it, but at the end it just messed up. So I think if they can bring like a classic comic book Archie, what people were expecting Riverdale to be before they went insane, I think that might do actually pretty well.
Yeah, of all the series that we did work on in Vancouver, which had the best reputation, do you think? I always thought The Flash.
Yeah, I was gonna say people thought I always thought people on The Flash were really happy, and the main actor is really nice. I got to interact.
Yeah,
with
so
him.
The Flash,
and he was always really nice with fans as well, which I think is.
Yeah, they always overstaffed. They always made sure it had really good food. They treated everybody on set really well, and it was the long-running series. Mm-hmm. So most people knew they were coming back for the next year. It was steady work. Everybody was happy to be on that set. Mm-hmm. Yeah, The Flash had a great reputation. And again, I didn't even watch The Flash, and I didn't watch Riverdale. I interacted with them based upon working on those sets, though. Okay, let's go.
I'm trying to find, because now that Firefly Lane, funnily enough, never watched the series, have no idea what it's about, but the people on Firefly Lane were also really nice. I got to work there quite a bit at an old motel that was really scary at night, because I mostly worked at night.
We drove past there, and then you were telling me about it the one time.
But the people there were amazing. Mm-hmm. And the location manager was also really nice.
Well, you were a DEI hire on all that.
No.
I started working for the union first, and then they didn't have many women working. So I said, put your application. She goes, well, I have no experience. I said, they're hiring anybody that applies that's a woman, because they had to have a 50% quota for their DEI hires in order to maintain the contracts with the film studios.
But I always did want to work in film. So, I mean, it was something I was looking into. Good. And if we would have stayed in Vancouver, I would have wanted to go into the camera operator tracked, but I mean, we love it.
And now the film industry in Vancouver is
a mess.
Hurting, and I don't know what's going to happen. It's all going to be really hindering on that tariff deal. The big warehouse, William White's, is there, so there's only a few cities around the world that have William White's warehouses. The movie studio basically goes there, fills up their truck with whatever they need to film the movie. So it's there, and they can kind of write it off. Not every city has that. It makes it really easy for cities that do have William White's to really film a lot of stuff there. And Vancouver was filming more than Hollywood at one point. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go into ESPN streaming launch.
From Variety, ESPN streaming launch calls for SportsCenter shakeup. Other TV sports staples get one too.
Okay, let's read a little bit about this.
Imagine a version of ESPN SportsCenter where you, not Scott Van Pelt, nor not Elle Duncan, not Gavin Nakandi, lead the show. Actually, you don't have to. On Thursday, ESPN will launch an interactive version of the show that gives each subscriber almost exactly what they want. This SportsCenter for you actually a series of short clips that appear much like an array of TikTok offerings and are narrated by popular anchors, including Hannah Storm, thanks to some AI enhancement, is tailored to the interests and favorite topics of each user and will be part of ESPN's new set of interactive features that launch in tandem with its new all-in streaming service set to debut Thursday and make available its entire portfolio of content for the first time in a broadband fashion.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They're going to try to bring AI in, and I'm having a feeling it's going to be the traditional announcers with AI, so they can change kind of what they're saying based upon your choices. I don't know. It may not work. I know sometimes I log into YouTube without my account, and then I have my premium account with no commercials, which is awesome. And I do like a lot of the videos they recommend to me when I log in without my user account. I don't like the experience as much, so this could possibly work, but I just don't like the direction Disney is taking ESPN. Mm-hmm. I know they were supposed to get betting on their app on their TVs, and that was supposed to be a lot of the new financing, which was supposed to drive the platform, and that's being severely hindered by their relationship with the current administration.
And it does seem like they're doing a lot of very desperate moves right now.
And they just lost the UFC, and I think the UFC is the biggest growing sport in the world right now. People don't realize how big that sport has a potential to be because of how badly ESPN fumbled the bag while they had that property. They still have it for another 6 months, but I don't think they're going to do much with it because they don't want to help their competitors out when it does go over to CBS and Paramount Plus. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's read a little bit about South Park here.
From The Hollywood Reporter, South Park heads to a militarized DC in next episode. Then we'll skip yet another week. Washington, D.C. is under siege in the third episode of the Comedy Central show's 27th season, which is undertaking another schedule change for future episodes.
Yeah, and we got a couple stories about South Park and what their plots are going to be about over the next few weeks. And they're really hitting the Trump administration hard, but I think justifiably so, meaning it's comedy what they're doing. They're bringing the military in to protect D.C., but the crime rates are going severely down. It's working very well for the Trump administration. I like a lot of things they're doing, but I can see how it lends itself easy to the comedy genre, especially Kristi Noem and people like this. I mean, every single person in the Trump administration is a character, from Trump to his wife to Barron Trump to RFK to Trump Jr. to Kristi Noem. I mean, you name it.
And they already did Charlie Kirk, and he actually took it in stride. He took it better than most, I'd say.
They should take it in stride, especially when they're having success in the real world. They don't need success in the media. Let them poke fun of it because it's actually working. Crime rates are way down in DC right now, and a lot of liberals are actually thankful to the Trump administration for the way they cleaned up that city. Okay, let's go into the next article, and it's going to be South Park as well.
South Park spoofs tech bro culture, ChatGPT, and immigration crisis. Season 27's ratings record-busting run continued Wednesday when the third episode taking its focus off MAGA and toward the effects of technology.
Yeah, and see, it's not all directed at the Trump administration, but the tech industry now is really aligned with the administration. So maybe in a way it is, but I don't mind it at all. And it is, go back to the top a little bit. It's going after ChatGPT as well. So it's not completely focused on the administration, but it is a lot focused on the administration. But like I said, it's comedy. Let's read a little bit about it though.
The third episode of South Park's 27th season, which aired on Comedy Central on Wednesday, took a break from its uniquely sharp satire of the MAGA movement, swapping this for a scathing look at the culture that has emerged out of the tech boom, complete with nonsense lingo and substance microdosing, the overly pandering appeal of ChatGPT, as well as the ongoing crisis for migrants in America. The episode of the series' ratings-shattering 27th season sees Randy Marsh's farm Tegrity Farms faces an existential crisis when ICE agents round up its Mexican migrant workforce, leading the Marsh family patriarch to contemplate ending his business and leaving the farm life behind, much to the delight of the rest of the family. That night, Randy turns to ChatGPT as a marriage therapist, but soon the artificial intelligence is helping him come up with ways to leverage his remaining staffer to reconceive his business model.
And like I said, it really does focus. It's an American show, so American politicians are in the headlines all the time, especially now with the Trump administration. I'm heavy into politics, so I know all the EU politicians and things like that, but I don't think it's going to have a broad appeal. I don't think most normies even know who's running the UK right now. It's Keir Starmer, but I know that because I cover politics every single day. A lot of people don't know because the UK is changing who their prime minister. It seems like every 6 months. It's crazy. They had Richie Sunak before Keir Starmer, and they're talking about having another election now. So, let's go into the last article of the day, and it does involve Trump.
From the AP, Trump administration buying to own a big stake in Intel after SoftBank's $2 billion bet on company.
Yeah, and this is interesting because this is the government going into business with American corporations. So if they want to compete with China, I think they feel like they have to do this. I don't know if it's necessarily a good idea. What do you think? The headline? What do you think? You read the headline, but you didn't read it.
I'm a producer. I'm trying to figure.
Read it again. Read it again for me, for you, and for the audience.
Trump administration buying to own a big stake in Intel after SoftBank's $2 billion bet on company.
Yeah, so you can bet Intel has a huge future. If the government's going to bet on them, they're going to give them favorable treatment over everybody else. What do you think about the government getting in bed with private corporations? Kind of like the Chinese government.
Yeah, I mean, and there are those comparisons, and at the same time, what does it mean for the control and the management of the company, and is it a good idea to have the government involved, especially in technology, and when we start talking about the what we always talk about, digital IDs, and the fact that they're now going to maybe start using the excuse of security and safety and protection and the bad organized crime as an excuse to bring in, I would say, even what was that called after 9/11? Patriot Act?
Yeah.
A Patriot Act 2.0.
Yeah, and like they have to compete with China. China is willing to lose money hand over fist with their companies because they're funded by the government, and they're going to monopolize these different industries. That's why maybe the American government does have to come in so these industries don't get completely monopolized, because we see what happens even in the United States when a company like Walmart or Amazon comes in, it takes out all small businesses. Are you going to let Chinese companies run everything on a global basis? As much as I don't like the U.S. Government getting in bed with private corporations, maybe it's necessary at this time. I can kind of see both sides of this one. Okay, well, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. We have our political show tomorrow, right around this time. I think it's at 6 p.m. Mexico City time. Usually the show's on Tuesdays, Thursdays in the morning.
And yes, this was just a pickup we did because we did have to interview someone today. So have a good night.
Adios.
And we'll see you tomorrow.